Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Casually Spike, the wokest magic podcast on the internet. I am your host, Dakota Marker, and with me are my friends Jaron Denham,
Alola,
and Devin Harrison.
How you doing, man?
So,
that's content for the Patreon right there.
you know what, man?
Man.
We were on a roll, man. But, so, Jaron, why don't you go ahead and tell us what all are we talking about this evening?
All right, so since there wasn't really much to talk about because this is the week of the Pro Tour and Turk, no. Anyway, we're going to talk about the... And now it was your turn, huh? Oh, wait, it was because of Turk. All right.
Well, because I was checking my Switch to make sure it was off, so I turned it on for like half a second, and of course, in that half a second, the notification came out. I'm like,
of course.
Crap.
All right, so we're going to be talking about a couple of things that happened, not only at the SCG Open with Ali Antrazi's slip-up, I guess. We're going to be talking about that. Then when there was a Pro Tour DQ during round 5 that I would like to go into.
DQ, I love Dairy Queen.
Not in this case, there, buddy. I'm sorry. If I get hurt at work, I go to Dairy Queen first. Anyway, and then we're just going to talk about our plans for GP Pit, and hopefully that goes quite well. There was something else I wanted to talk about, but I forgot. Oh, it was the GameStop thing. I would like to discuss the Kotaku article that they had about GameStop.
Let's talk about corporate greed.
Yeah!
Yeah!
It's a thing that's been happening, though, so it's okay. All right,
We'll get into it.
All right, since you brought it to our attention right before we started, what's going on with Ali Antrazi?
All right, so basically during the last SCG Open, which was where was it?
It was Richmond, I believe.
SCG Richmond. Ali Antrazi was caught on camera slipping up, and basically what happened was he had a 6-card hand, and he goes end step Glimmer Genius and draws 2 cards.
What's happening? Yeah.
So that it would put him at 8.
Okay, yeah, 8.
So he goes to 8 and goes to end step, and then he very clearly fans through his hand like he's checking all his cards, and then passes. Mm-hmm. Keeping in mind this was a feature match.
Yeah.
So he had 8.
Dylan Donegan.
Yeah.
This was in Richmond, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had 8 cards in hand and went to end step and passed.
Yeah.
And almost immediately, like even the commentary for the match was stop the match because he very clearly did not discard down to 7.
Right.
And I mean, the whole thing with that is, hasn't he been caught before doing fishy things at other, like, at Opens and, like, GPs and stuff? Because it always seems like he doesn't get to the Pro Tour and, like, do it where he's going to get DQ'd or, like, to incur any serious penalty. It always seems to be just, like, little stuff. And it makes me kind of wonder, has he been doing this more often when, like, people aren't watching?
I don't really know, because he's one of those players I don't really keep track of.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, like, he's like a second tier, like, Star City grinder kind of guy. Like, he's popular enough to where most people know him, and I mean, he did win an invitational, so like, that's at least something. But yeah,
really, the only thing that people really remember him doing that was bad was he was joking with somebody that he didn't know, and he asked if he could feel them up because they had breasts and they were trans.
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously things went bad, and he got fired from TCG Player because of that.
Idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's the only thing that comes off the top of my mind for that.
But I mean, that's skeezy in and of itself.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, not wanting to start a witch hunt or anything, because let's face it, that's dumb.
It's just information to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something that's not really necessary, but it's definitely good to know it.
All right, so, and likewise, I brought that up, and I was going to ask you to bring the next thing up, which was the DQ, because you know more about it than I do.
Yeah, so round 5 of Pro Tour Ether Revolt, there was well, it wasn't really a judge call as much as it was a judge watching a match in passing.
Yeah.
Brock Parker was the active player in this situation. He plays a Heart of Kieran. He crews the Heart of Kieran, and then he motions that he's attacking. His opponent says, I will take the damage. Obviously, I think that there was some sort of language barrier in this as well. He says he takes the damage, writes down on the piece of paper if he writes down that he took 3 or less damage. And then on Brock's paper, he wrote down that he took 4 damage. The judge noticed this and immediately halted the game, launched an investigation, which ultimately resulted in him being DQ'd.
Who got DQ'd? What's his name?
Brock Parker.
Brock Parker.
Yeah,
What happened before that was that Brock Parker noticed that his opponent only wrote down 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then changed his to fit it when he couldn't make that attack anyways.
Yeah.
Because he crewed.
Right.
Which is what got the judge in on it.
Ah.
Which is that's technically cheating because it's in your favor.
Yeah.
So you couldn't attack anyways.
Right. And because this was like slam bam, thank you, he were you getting ready to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Because he basically picked up his, in my opinion, I think this is what happened. He picked up his creature to show a crew, and then he swung in the same motion with an attack from the creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to announce that he was attacking.
Yeah, I don't. Well, did he verbally announce his crew trigger?
Why I'm thinking there was a language barrier is because of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, because like normally because I figure like you're supposed to at least like make some kind of verbal note, like, well, obviously the idea is crew, but
Yeah.
maybe he said it in whatever his language was. I don't know.
Well, he's American.
Well, why didn't he just say crew then, or like
Because-
give some notification?
Because you have to remember, when you play in a Pro Tour or a Grand Prix,
Yeah.
a language barrier is real.
Yeah.
So you're going to be playing with people that speak many different languages that aren't English, or they don't know English.
But what about the judges? Because the thing is, like, the judge caught him immediately. Like,
Well, the judge probably didn't hear it.
all right,
Yeah.
I'll take that as valid.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's the same issue with stuff like Soulbone that doesn't have a direct English translation.
you mean best friends?
Well, I thought it was called Make Relationship.
That too. Yeah, make a relationship, best friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what it really came down to is the fact that he didn't notify his opponent that he couldn't make the attack anyways, and then just changed what he had according to what his opponent had,
Right.
which is still cheating. And at that level, I would automatically DQ him anyways.
Yeah, because you're supposed to be able to do your own paperwork.
Especially at a Pro Tour, which is an event you have to qualify for. Like, you have to work to get to a Pro Tour.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I think using speculation and all that, I think we basically covered that enough too.
Well, I mean, like, he got DQ'd. That's the end of the story.
Yeah,
He can appeal it, but like
Yeah.
at this point, like,
Doesn't matter.
What's
it's not
the
gonna.
use?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so
So, anyways,
yes.
really just
Like, watch your plays, people.
Yeah, watch your
Don't
plays.
Don't try and pull scummy nonsense. Like,
call judge.
if you see your opponent doing anything even remotely questionable, call a judge.
Well, call judge, and no
They
matter
can't-
what it is.
Yeah, they can't do anything to stop you from trying to call a judge. Like, it's a game action you are allowed to take at any point.
Even if it's just a silly, stupid mistrigger,
If it's a mistrigger, if it's a
call it.
if you're not sure how a card like works in a certain situation, like, just call a judge and ask. Like, you're allowed to ask them questions about like functionality and stuff, because they're not there to bully you. They're there to help you play the game correctly and to make sure you can do stuff and your opponent can do stuff, and that you're doing it the right way.
Bottom line.
I feel like I'm teaching a freaking sex ed class.
Bottom line. Don't be a d-bag.
Yes.
Also wrap it. Anyway, moving on. And by that, I mean always use sleeps with your cards, children.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
Yes. Be safe. Don't spray your orange juice on your cards.
Sorry.
So,
All right. So, Dakota, let's start with your plans for GP Pit.
all right. So basically, of the Casually Spike crew, I don't know if Bill's going. Bill's not here tonight,
Bill's
by the
not
way.
going, I don't think.
If Bill doesn't go, then I will be the only member of the crew who is not playing in the main event and has no plans. Well, because I'm actually interested in a lot of the side events that are going on next weekend.
They do look pretty good, yeah.
Like, Pastimes is running the show, which I haven't been to a Pastimes one. All the ones I've been to have all been PES, except for last year's, which was TJ Collectibles.
Yep.
And TJ did a decent job. I'll give him full credit. As for Pastimes, they've got a lot of really interesting events going on that I'm actually pretty interested to check out. So, one thing they're running that I thought was cool is that they're running turbo events all weekend.
Yeah.
Which are, they come in 3 flavors, which is standard, modern, and limited.
Okay.
And how it works is you go and you pay I think it's like $10, except for the limited events, which I think are $15.
Oh no.
And you play 1 round. And you're basically going all or nothing.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Which is why they're
You
called.
didn't know that?
I played in one of those events. I didn't know that.
Oh.
I didn't know it was just one game.
Well, one game.
I think it's 1 match. I don't know if... Let me double check here, but I'm pretty sure it's 1 match.
One way or the other. This sounds awesome. This sounds like a job for Pummeler.
Absolutely.
Well, I played in one side event. It was... I don't know if it's called Turbo or whatever, but it was 1 game, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 1 game was your 1 match.
That sounds fun.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're... It might be different from from a scheduler to scheduler or whatever. I'm pulling up the fact sheet here in a moment, but... So, they have the turbo events going on all weekend. And, of course, they have the on-demand pods for Standard, Modern, Draft, and Commander, which are always fun. But they also have several side events that are really interesting. For example, Friday, they're having a sealed event. And this sealed event has a unique theme because it's called Foiled Again.
Yeah.
And I've seen other organizers run this event. And basically what it is you play a sealed event as normal, but along with the prizes that you normally get, they also offer foils, usually foil promos. And they don't tell you what they are because it's probably just a back box of stuff they have. But I mean, thinking about what an organizer might have versus just a regular store, they might have other GP promos available.
Right.
Could you imagine getting a Goblin Guide or a Stoneforge Mystic?
I'd be okay with that. Especially the Goblin Guide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be nutty. But let's not go too far into Magical Christmas Land.
Yep.
But what's really cool about the one they're running, Pastimes in particular, is they're running it on Friday. It's 7 o'clock according to the schedule. And for $30, not only do you get the sealed event, you get the GP promo, which is Progenitus, which is a nice promo, and you get a playmat. Now, it's not necessarily the one from this GP. It is one from their collection of previous... A playmat from our Grand Prix Playmat Archive. And it's 3 rounds of Swiss for that event. Let's see. The Turbo events is... Yeah, it's play 1 round. So, presumably 3, best of 3.
2 of 3.
Now, Saturday, they've got several events. As we've seen recently, there's been a big increase in the idea of booster box sealed, where instead of getting 6 packs, you get 36 packs. But Pastimes is taking it 1 step further, because we've got not 1, but 2 team booster box sealed events.
It also curbs the cost pretty well, too.
It does. So, at 1 o'clock... So, there's 3 sealed events, or 3 box sealed events. At 1 o'clock, they're running 36 pack sealed normally, so it's 1 man. At 4 o'clock, they're running 2-headed giant 36 pack sealed. And then finally, at 6 o'clock, they are running a 3-man team 36 pack sealed.
It's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
I'm not even gonna lie. I think that would be awesome.
It's pretty cool.
And what's cool is they still
Ruby's pretty cool.
You don't just get they still balance it out, so you're not getting 36 packs of Ether Revolt. You get 24 packs of Ether Revolt and 12 of Kaladesh.
Okay, that's fine.
To make it an actual balanced sealed event. So I think that's freaking sweet.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then
Decent chance to get inventions in that too.
yeah. And then finally on Saturday and Sunday they have Chaos Draft, which is you take 3 packs from a bag, and then whatever you get you draft with. And I mean, like, I've only ever done it officially once, but my Chaos Draft was Odyssey, Time Spiral, and Cold Snap.
That sounds actually kind of miserable.
It wasn't actually that bad, because the thing is, none of those mechanics, except for Cold Snap, kind of, had parasitic mechanics, really. Like, Time Spiral had a little smattering of everything, so, like, it didn't really play that, like, mesh that badly.
Future Sight had 42 keywords, I think.
Or wait, it wasn't. It was Time Spiral.
Yeah,
Time Spiral didn't really have a lot of like stuff that like did like it had a little bit of everything, so it meshed pretty well. Cold Snap, like my pack in particular, didn't have a lot of the snow stuff in it, so like the only parasitic mechanic in that set, it didn't really like have that much
Ripple?
of. And well, I don't think I saw any Ripple either.
Oh
actually.
wow, that's a good pack, Cold Snap.
Well, it wasn't that great because I think the rare in it was like what was the rare in that pack? I don't even remember, to be honest.
You probably took a Borean elf over everything in the pack.
Probably. Well, no, I ended up playing red black because there was also lots of Ravnica block going around.
Oh, that's good then.
Like I remember playing red black with like Hellhide rats and stuff. Like that deck did pretty good. I had Wit's End and Partic Dragon.
Wow, that's really good.
My deck wasn't bad, and then I left my draft deck sitting on a table, and I never saw it again. But at least I had my prizes.
Well, that's good then. The only Chaos Draft I saw was pack 1. This guy opens up his Ravnica pack and just screams, and everybody's like, "Okay, pick the Bob. Everybody take black."
How'd you know?
But I mean, like, and the thing with the GP is that there's events for everybody, for every possible thing you could want to do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, besides the on-demand, which covers a majority of the stuff, you've also got, like, there's some legacy things you can do. There's, like, these different, there's, like, every kind of limited event you could ever want to run, including, I think on Sunday they even have Sealed Draft, which I don't exactly get the point of, but, you know, whatever. And not only are there the events to think about, like, of course there's the vendors there, and they've got a pretty decent lineup from last I checked. I haven't looked at the vendor list in a while. They might have changed it. But while I'm looking that up, I'll go ahead and mention that they've also got 6 artists attending, which is more than usual for GP Pit. Because last time we talked about this, we already knew that RK Post, Clint Searley, Ryan Yee, and Mark Poole were going to show up to the party. And, you know, that's a pretty decent selection so far. But now we also find out that we are also getting Christopher Moeller and Steve Prescott.
Yeah, Prescott's actually kind of cool.
Prescott does a lot of cool stuff. And I've talked to Moeller is there a lot. And I've actually talked to him, and he actually apparently was working in the Wheeling area for a while as like a comic drawer or something.
Yeah.
And
Steve Prescott actually gave me one of my favorite memories from any tournament I've ever gone to, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Cole had a foil Chadot, and we were at the Eventide pre-release, I think it was. No, it wasn't Eventide. It was...
He had a foil what?
Chadot.
Like the Pokemon?
Yeah!
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I think this was for Zendikar, actually, if I remember correctly. I don't really remember, but we'll just go with it. So, he goes over, and he says, I wonder if Steve will sign this. And Aaron Mason takes it off of him and says, I'll get him to do it. So he waits his turn in line, and he just sneaks up to the counter, up to the table, and he just slides the Chadot, and then he had something underneath the Chadot. So Steve picks up the card and says, I didn't draw this. And Aaron says, I know. And he's like, okay. There's $1 underneath the Chadot. So he signs it, puts an arrow, and says, my art, and then takes the $1 and goes back.
That's awesome. So, the vendors that are going to be at the event, I just got this. Pastimes, obviously. Also, we've got Alternate Reality Games, ARG, Tales of Adventure, Cool Stuff, Moose Loot. I've actually talked to Bernie, who runs Moose Loot, a few times. He's cool. Pink Bunny Games, Channel Fireball, Hareruya, who, by the way, if you guys like my sleeves on my Omnath deck, this is your chance to get them.
Yeah.
I had a pack somewhere.
RIW Hobbies, Full Grip Games, Dave and Adam's Card World, featuring a logo that looks like it came straight out of GeoCities, MTGDeals.com, Card Monster Games, Gamers Vault, and Kirwan's Game Store.
That's pretty cool.
So we've got a lot of different like vendors. Like,
Yeah.
I'm surprised to not see Troll and Toad here. But,
Well, their shipping's pretty terrible, so we don't have to worry about it.
well, to be fair, it's weird though because they've been there every year for the GP for Pittsburgh. So it's just weird to not see them there.
Okay, I see what you're doing. Okay, that's fine. There you go. All right. So
like, obviously, even though if you're not playing in the main event, there's a lot of neat stuff to do.
yeah, it's gonna be great. See, I'm gonna go ahead and skip Devin while he's creeping on somebody's Facebook.
I really
Buddha
wanted,
creep.
I really wanted John Avon to be there.
Yeah, I did too, but
Just because I have
I've
the
never
Unhinged Lands that he did.
yeah.
I've never
Well, he
seen
did
him.
the Unhinged Lands.
Yeah,
and a
I've
few
never
other
seen.
things.
I don't think I've ever seen him be at GP Pit.
He doesn't go to GPs very often unless they're
Yeah.
in UK or run by Star City.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna go ahead and skip you, unless you want to do yours now. Like, what are your plans for GP Pit?
All right, you first.
Okay, cool. So Friday, I'm gonna leave my house at about 4 o'clock or so because Cole's finally gonna be done teaching, and we're gonna head up there and have some dinner. I'm gonna try to get my L1 test as soon as we get there. Yeah.
woo.
I might play in a side event. I haven't decided yet, but we're all gonna go out to eat with our buddy that lives up there. And yeah. You're
Study.
yeah, we're gonna study, and I'm gonna get drunk, and then I'm gonna go to GP Pit. It's gonna be awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna play in the main event. I have a 2-round bye because of the Grand Prix trial I won.
I have a 1-round bye.
Well, it's still a bye. It's still good. And then I have a vacation day that I'm gonna use for Sunday. So this is why I stayed where I'm at for so long, because I got a vacation day, so I could go to a Grand Prix and stay for day 2. Yes.
So what are you gonna do on day 2 if you're not assuming you don't day 2?
I'm gonna hang out with you, buddy.
Are we?
Yeah.
I was gonna say because like I don't know if I was gonna go up for day 2, but I mean like, hey, if you're driving,
I'll drive. That's fine.
well, because the thing is, I asked. I didn't tell you guys, but last night. Me and my buddy Tails went to Applebee's because we won half-price apps because I'm addicted to Applebee's half-price
love
apps.
that because they have like boneless chicken wings.
They got
on
boneless
that.
wings, and their beer
Yeah.
pretzels are great.
Yeah. Have you had their quesadillas? I think they're on the menu.
I haven't had the quesadillas because I'm not a big fan of pico, but you know. Ow!
I just threw a tie at Dakota.
That actually kind of hurt a little.
Good.
This is, like,
You
not-
just hurt me.
Okay.
You hurt my people's food. I'm kidding. I'm Irish.
I was gonna say you are not even slightly the least bit like any kind of Latino.
You hurt my feel goods.
Go back to your safe space.
Go back
you
to the
social-
90s.
You social justice warrior, you. And I'd have another insult that's Scott's favorite, but I'd have to censor myself, so we're not doing that.
I would
But,
have to too.
Anyway,
But-
moving on. But,
All right. So, anyway, if I don't day 2, then I'm gonna hang out with you because I thought you said you wanted to go back up.
Well, I mean, like I was gonna go Friday and Saturday was the initial plan, but then I
Well, then
talked
never
to
mind.
I was talking to Tails, and he was telling me that he may or may not get one of those days off, and I wanted him to come see the GP because he ain't been to one.
Oh man, he has to.
And that's what I'm like. Let me put it to you this way, dear listeners: if you have not been to a GP or any other kind of big Magic event, like, find a way to go if you can.
Yep.
Like, the thing that's funny is that back in 2011, which was my very first Grand Prix, actually it was my very first big convention of any kind.
That's cute.
Like, I went there by myself as a junior in high school, and I walked into the convention center floor, and I just stopped. Like, the sheer enormity
Yep.
of, like, all the people that were there. And the thing is, what really surprised me is that, like, people from all walks of life were there. Like, I remember walking by a table of drafters, and there was, like, some lady in her 60s sitting there doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is awesome. And she was wearing a Karn t-shirt.
That's really cool.
It was like an old Karn T-shirt too, like one that they probably like. This didn't look like something that got screen printed.
Yeah.
Like it was something that was manufactured, which made me wonder. Like, I wonder if she played back during like Urza's Saga.
Probably. I mean,
But that would be cool. Like,
there was a lot of stuff like that back then too.
and that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, there's just so much history, and like, even if you don't like buy anything, because like obviously it's a big market. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for something, you're gonna be hard pressed to not find it at the GP. Like, I can't think of a card other than like one-off things like misprints or like test prints or stuff that's very, very exclusive.
I try to get every single one of my friends that haven't been to a Grand Prix to one,
Yeah.
because there's something that it's just so amazing to be there.
Yeah,
It's
like
so
to,
different.
to breathe in the energy and just
Yeah.
like I mean, like, it sounds like I'm being hyperbolic. I'm not. Like,
No.
it's something you like. I feel like I'm putting it into words, but I feel like it's not.
There's no description.
There's no like. It's hard to put into words like just the scale
Like,
of it all. Like,
everybody's gone to a concert.
everybody's been to a concert.
Everybody has been to a concert. Everybody loves going to see their favorite bands perform live, unless they're terrible like Dragon Force. And even when the band sucks, if they suck live, you're still feeling the energy at the beginning of the show with everybody around you. And that's exactly the same feeling I get when I go to a Grand Prix, because there's just all this anticipation, you know? There's just so much energy and waiting to try to get this thing on the road.
And man, I tell you what, like, if I had the kind of money to where I could travel all the time, I would just go to GPs all over the world.
I would too.
Because the thing is, even in Pittsburgh, I'm always finding new stuff. Like, even when you're not on the venue site and you're, like, looking for a place to eat.
Yeah.
First of all, Pittsburgh has great food.
Yeah.
Like,
It
doesn't matter what you're looking for, you'll find it.
The only thing that I ever mention to anybody when they ask me, where's a good place to eat? I point the opposite direction, and I say, go down the street here, in a side street, there's a place called Permanis. It's the original location. There's like 20 of them in Pittsburgh. That's the one you want to go to.
I mean, like, there's Permanis, there's Spaghetti Warehouse, there's the steak place that's really good.
Yeah, that one's really good, but oh my god, Permanis. Oh.
Well, I'm just so happy we have one here now, even
Yes.
though it seems like they're more of a pizza shop than...
I don't worry about it. I still get the sandwich.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, it just seems like their pizzas are, like, real popular compared
Yeah.
to their sandwiches.
Well,
here in the Highlands, at least.
I'll
But
fairness,
we also have a Five Guys, so, like, you know.
What?
I just go to Jimmy John's.
Yeah, you go to Jimmy John's. I actually walk the mile to go to Permanis. Oh my god, it's so worth it. Especially after you had a rough day at the Grand Prix and you're just like, I really need a place to unwind. And then they give me beer.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Is it free?
No.
well,
They just not give me. I
you're
know.
never gonna get... Where do you get free beer anywhere?
Bars.
Weddings.
Okay,
Weddings.
fair.
Bars with other drunk people.
Yeah, yeah.
The only place I ever got free beer at was at that one Nailers game that was paid for by, what's-his-face's
Yeah.
corporate people.
Yep.
And actually, I didn't even drink then. I just ate all their fried pierogies and wings,
I was actually kind of disappointed because I got invited to go to that.
and you didn't go.
I didn't go.
He didn't even invite me.
Well, that was because you had a tournament to run.
Well, yeah, you were running a thing. You wouldn't have gone. Don't lie.
I mean, hockey does suck, but
Hockey's okay. It's just the people that are terrible around there.
It's just the fan base that makes it bad.
Yeah.
Just like everything else.
Yeah. Hi, Magic. How are you?
Just like every TV show.
Hi, League of Legends.
Hi, Steven Universe.
Hi, Undertale.
Hi, Firefly.
Firefly's awesome, and so is the community.
No, it's not. Don't pretend like there's no... To be fair, they're still not as bad as the Sonic fan base.
Oh my god, Sonic.
Gotta go fast.
get your fist.
Alright, so, Devin, I basically covered my plans. What are you doing, big guy?
Winning.
Riding up with me on Sunday?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I mean, hopefully
Yeah.
for day 2.
Yep. Me too, buddy.
I mean, last one I went 9-6 and barely missed my pro points.
Well, hopefully Wizards event reporter won't like violently crap the bed like he did when you were in Charlotte.
Walter pooped the bed.
Yeah.
Walter pooped the bed.
Yeah, when I was in Charlotte, I was undefeated
Yeah.
when it happened. I was
Yep.
like, what, round 5?
Yeah. Man, I just hope the same thing doesn't happen this time where I go 4-0 and I don't drop a game and then my deck decides to poop the bed.
I mean, I almost beat Sam Black, but he was like, I want to cast World Breaker and exile your manland. The only threat that I had.
Wah.
I was like, dang.
You got
Sam Black.
well. I mean, in the words of the legendary DJ Khaled, you just played yourself.
Played yourself. And then I played Ralph Batiche. He's like a semi-pro. I don't know if he's silver or not, but
What'd you say his name was? Ralph Mustache?
Ralph
Sure.
Batiche.
Batiche.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. Pistachio. I don't mean to keep getting your name.
I beat him one game, I do believe. That same round, I thought I was playing Reed Duke. Like I sat down, and he was Reed was like walking from the longer end of the tables.
Did you
And he
feel
was-
the wind as his hair
Oh my
magnificently swooshed by?
Yes,
like
I had a
it does-
conversation with him. It was
like
awesome.
it does in his L'Oreal commercials.
Had a conversation with him. Like he was walking down the row, looking at table numbers, and he stopped in front of me and looked at the table numbers.
And he
I was just like, and he sat down at the table next to me. I was like, oh, thank God.
All right.
Did you end up beating Mr. Pastiche?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say that must have Mr. Pistachio'd you off.
Nah, that was that was I think my round 14 match. Like I said, I almost beat him. He beat me, and then I just sat there and talked to Reed
That's fair. That's a good time.
and Ralph.
Yeah.
Judge came over and he's like, "You guys done?" We're like, "Yeah." He gave a slip. We just sat there and talked.
Yeah. See, that's always nice. Like, it's really rare that you actually have a decent match to where afterwards both players feel like that it was fine. And at a Grand Prix, I've only had one experience like that. And it was whenever I was on the losing end of Living End.
Mm-hmm.
I played Grafdigger's Cage, and my opponent goes Cascading the Living End. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he says, it still works.
Yeah.
I'm like, nuh-uh. And this is obviously game 2, and I lost game 1. And he puts his stuff in exile, and then puts his cards in the graveyard, and brings his stuff back. And I was like, it doesn't work like that. And then I picked up the Grafdigger's Cage, and I read it. I was like, I'll be damned. And we just sat there and talked for 10, 15 minutes. I was like, I'm not even mad. Thank you for showing me that.
Yeah. I tried to talk to Sam Black when I played him.
He's quiet.
He doesn't talk much.
He's quiet.
He just announces what he does and goes on with his day.
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of people are like that because one thing that I've learned at work, and I'm not going to name names, but there's a coworker I have who her only weakness is that she never stops talking.
Oh, God.
Has not caught on to the idea that I only talk when I need to
Yeah.
at work because
Yeah.
more so I'm afraid of slipping up and swearing
Oh,
than
no.
anything. I'm serious. Everybody at work's like, man, I'm so afraid to offend you because I have girls who swear at my office, and I'm just like, lady, if you saw me outside of work, we would not be having this conversation.
Are you aware that I wear Hawaiian
I'm like-
shirts on a daily basis?
I'm like Harvey Dent up in here. Like the other side of my coin is a knife.
See, here's really something really cool that I noticed. This is gonna be a segue. You ready for this?
I'm as
This is
ready
gonna be
as
awesome.
I'm as ready as I'm ever gonna be.
All right, so in retail, they tell you that you can't cuss in front of the customers.
Yeah.
That you aren't supposed to cuss around your coworkers either.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that customers and studies have shown is that if somebody cusses, that they're more honest.
Yeah, I've seen that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the Kotaku article about GameStop and their Circle of Life program.
Oh boy, Kotaku,
Yes!
the most.
The Gawker of video games.
Yeah, the most.
Well, that's because they're owned by Gawker.
Well, okay, let's call them the Fox News of video games.
Okay, cool. Let's do that. All right. So, anyway, they released an article. I think it was about 4 days ago now, and it was about how GameStop is now hardcore pushing their pre-owned, what they call Circle of Life. Okay, so basically what it is, on the back of the name tags. Now, I was going to bring my name tag to actually show this to you guys, because I haven't been there in about 2.5 years now. But Circle of Life has been going on for at least 7 years.
Yeah.
Because it was going on before I started there. So, basically what it is you have, the first is reserves, so reservations, and then new game sales, and then trade-ins, then pre-owned, and then it repeats the process. So you're supposed to get 25% in each of these. You're supposed to have at least 25% in all of these to do well. So you only need 75%. Not bad. Well, what this article is telling people is that there are stores that if somebody brings a new copy of a game up to the counter, they will give them the pre-owned copy without telling them that it's pre-owned.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to do that.
I'm getting to that. You're going to love this. All right, so the example they gave was Watch Dogs 2 was on sale last week. It was $30. And a used copy was still $54.99. So people were, well, there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that too.
Okay.
So what they were doing was they would sell the pre-owned copy of Watch Dogs, and then they were covered on their pre-owned almost all the entire day. And what happens is the procedure that the employee is supposed to go through is they scan it in the system, and it'll tell them that if they have it pre-owned or not. Or if the person knows that they have pre-owned, they ask if they want to get pre-owned. If they say no, then don't worry about it. You get the new one and blah, blah, blah. Because honestly, if you do your job correctly, you're going to get your pre-owned goals anyway. So basically what it comes down to is with the Circle of Life program, like I said, it's been going on for years. It's something that's always been there, basically. So it's not an issue. That is not the issue. The issue is the employee. Or in this case, it's probably a district. Because if it finally went to Kotaku and somebody's getting fired over like not being able to turn over enough pre-owned sales or something, they're obviously not doing their job correctly in the first place. And if that entire district is doing it, that entire district's going to be fired. And they're going to be replaced by people that actually will do it correctly. Now, when I was working at GameStop, I started out as a seasonal hire for Christmas. And by that Christmas, I actually became a senior game advisor. So that's basically like a shift lead. My customer service was more about helping them get what they wanted and to save the money than it was about me making my numbers. Because I knew that if I helped them out, they would help me out.
I mean, that's the crux of good customer service. Like,
exactly.
You put your time into the customers and they'll put it back for you.
Yeah.
Like, except at Walmart, but I've got stories about that.
Yeah. So basically what it is these people are obviously not taking the time with the customers to actually be able to do the job appropriately. And because they're not doing the job appropriately, it's looking poor on the entire corporate. And when this article hit, there's going to be a lot of PR issues now. Like there already was anyway because of the trade prices. But the thing is, the trade price thing was actually explained to me and I understood why. Yeah, I know. This is going to blow your mind. You ready for this?
They're cheap.
Close. You realize that whenever they get damaged goods in, like the damaged games and stuff,
Yeah.
they have to send it away to their warehouse.
Yeah.
Their warehouse then resurfaces the discs, repairs the consoles, which, depending on what company the console is through, requires you to have certification, which GameStop pays for the certification.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, because they have this warehouse that employs, I think it was 130 people, that's people that don't actually have a bottom line, like that they don't make money for the company, that they
Yeah.
have to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they have to send all those products back out to the stores, or they sell them online.
Yeah.
Which the online sales definitely help curb that cost. But when they send the goods back out to the stores, you're looking at those boxes sometimes weighing like 30 pounds. And with UPS, that can be kind of expensive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like,
Because they're
shipping that kind of weight, like that's almost. Because I would expect GameStop not to ship by weight. I would expect them to just ship pallets, like freight.
They ship by the box.
But yeah, the thing is,
Yeah.
and that drives up their prices because the thing is, if they're not getting by freight, then it's probably costing them more.
But it's cheaper for them
Yeah.
to do it that way than it is to actually buy the freight to do it. And there's small stores that couldn't even fit a pallet of stuff in.
True.
Because let's look at it like this. Where's most of their stores located at?
They're little outlet stops.
Exactly. They're like little mall stores.
Yeah.
They're like the
so-
size of Claire's, you know? Yeah. So you have these stores that are getting these goods that are sometimes, it depends on when they're doing, well, what's coming out or whatever.
Yeah.
and
What's
how many
coming
boxes
out?
they're getting.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had times where I had my shipment come in, and you aren't supposed to do this. If it's coming from another store, you're supposed to have 50 or less items, and the box has to weigh less than 35 pounds.
Okay.
I've had shipments that came in that were 180 items that was probably about 40 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of that stuff, if it's weighed that much and packed in there that much, it's going to break.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took in an entire 180 item order of GameCube games when my store opened up.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know how many games I actually lost out of that entire thing because they were just like cracked and damaged and all that?
I'm gonna go ahead and go safety and say 20.
I lost almost half of that case. Yeah. And we're talking like the first thing I saw was a Wind Waker that was on top. And it was cracked in half.
Man, that
Yeah.
breaks my heart. Like,
Yeah. There was a Zelda compilation disc, you know, the one that has the 4 of them.
Oh.
It was cracked on one side.
Oh man.
Yeah. There was Super Mario Sunshine that was damaged too. It was bad.
Well, that's okay. That game sucks.
I like that game. It was pretty cool. The music was good in it.
Well, okay, yeah,
Music
but the
was really good.
music's good in all the Mario games.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, so stuff like that also curbs the cost too.
Yeah.
And then you have to also look at how many employees they're hiring that actually do the retail. And we're not talking just managers,
What-
not store managers.
I was gonna say, doesn't the average store like have what, a team, like a total, not all the time, but just like a total pool of like 10 employees or so?
It depends on the location. So like my store, we only had a revolving door of about 6 employees.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had the manager, we had an assistant manager, then we had a senior game advisor or 2, depending on how it was, and then we had GAs to fill in the slots, which they only got like 4 hours a week. Yeah.
That's poopy.
Yeah, it is poopy. So basically what we're looking at, we have that roster, and then you have the district managers, which oversee about 10 or 12 stores,
Mm-hmm.
and they make probably a high five figures to 6 figures, low 6 figures. Yeah, and depending on how long they've been there. And then you have the regional ones, well, regional managers. They make 6 digits,
Okay.
and then you have corporate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they definitely make 6 digits, high 6 digits probably. And you look at how many stores that are there, including the ones that are in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
All those stores all have their own costs and individuals. to
Yeah.
it, too.
Well, because the thing is, like, it's still a business. They still have
Yeah.
to look at like upkeep. Most of them have to worry about rent.
all of them do.
Yeah, because GameStop doesn't actually own any of its own
Nope.
like land.
Nope.
D-
The
is
only
there-
one they own is actually the warehouse with the corporate office attached to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember even the oil company I worked for, like the
Yeah.
big one that had warehouses across multiple states. Their corporate office was rented.
Yeah.
It's just like it's crazy, like how much. Well, because the thing is, like land ownership these days, and this is a totally off top. Like we're getting so off topic with this, but land ownership these days is such a bad proposition. It's almost always better to rent than it is
Yeah.
to own.
It really is. It's just more cost effective, really.
Well, the main thing I had explained to me is the big advantage of renting is the ability to not be tied down.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, if you, for example, just talking about personal home ownership,
Yeah.
like, it's nice to own your own home, and it's nice to have, like, equity.
Yes.
Hashtag financial advice on a Magic podcast.
No, this is fine because this is actually something we deal with as Magic players anyway.
But the thing is, by renting an apartment or, like, renting a home or whatever, if you get, for example, if you get pitched a better job, then you're not tied down.
Right.
Like, you terminate your lease if you have one, and then you just, like, go find another place. Because there's
Yeah.
always, I'm not saying there's always cheap places to live, but there's always places to live.
Yeah, exactly.
So, You can always make your situation work for you.
My house I'm currently in, I do own it, but I'm not really tied to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, and the thing is, you could honestly, you could probably just rent that thing back out and then use the rent that you get from that to pay the rent at whatever place you get.
There it is, right there. Seems like a good idea to me. Seems like it's cool. But anyway, to go back to that. So, basically, what's going on is, back to the Circle of Life thing, obviously.
Yeah.
So, we're going back to that. All right. So, what it comes down to is, it's just a scummy number of people that are doing this. Because in my stores that I've worked with, or worked for, or whatever, if I were to do something like that, I'd be written up, probably fired, no questions asked, probably just fired. Because there is always going to be somebody out there to do the job appropriately, especially for a GameStop. I mean, seriously. Really? Yeah, there's always going to be somebody better.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, too, like, you can't, a lot of jobs are, like, sales pressured.
Yeah.
But the truth is, the turnover really isn't going to hurt you that bad to lose it. Like, you don't have to put the pressure on people like you would at, like, a used car lot. It's GameStop. They're there to buy games. Just let them make, like, assume the customer is smart enough to make their own decisions. Like, but step in. Don't be a jerkbag about it. And, like, only offer them advice if they want it. That's probably one of the most important lessons I ever learned working at Walmart was
one of the things
to back off.
One of the things that we did, and we tried this really hard after we found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
You remember a little game called Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City?
No.
All right. So, it was a squad-based shooter that if you did it appropriately, you could probably finish the game in about, 2 hours? Yeah, about 2 hours. And we had a midnight release for it because we were like, "This is gonna be awesome! It's a shooter! Holy crap! Resident Evil's never really been a shooter. Like it's been a shooter, but it hasn't been a shooter, you know?"
Yeah.
And I remember I went home, I cracked a beer, and I beat the game before I finished my first beer. We had a midnight and everything for it. I went to work the next day. Somebody says, "I would like to buy Operation Raccoon City," and I said, "No, you won't." He's like, "Are you out?" And I said, "No, you just don't want it." He's like, but I do want it." And I said, "No, listen." I told him exactly what I just told you guys. I beat that game before I finished my beer. You know how many copies of Operation Raccoon City I sold that day? 6. You know what they all bought instead? Uncharted, because that was infinitely better.
I don't know. I played the first Uncharted and I wasn't impressed.
You need to play 2.
Is 2 the good one?
2 is the best one in the series.
Okay.
4 is really good too, though.
Maybe I'll try it because I was not that like 1 I played like 5 hours of and I was just like,
oh, you need to play that whole game. Seriously.
At what point does it start getting good?
I don't know where you left off.
Oh god, I don't even remember enough about the story.
All right, then you need to play it again.
Well, I mean, like, the problem is, it was, like, after, like, he found the thing in the submarine, and, like, it was way past that point, like.
Oh.
After they found the thing in the submarine, and, like.
Yeah, you definitely need to play it.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I have it for PS4 if you want to borrow it.
No, I have the collection, because that's what came with my PS4, and I tried the first one, and I wasn't that impressed.
Yeah, you need to beat the first one and go into the second one. It's really good. It definitely makes it better. It's a really, really good game. I'm telling you.
I mean, like
the entire series.
I don't know. It just felt kind of clunky to me.
Well, you're clunky.
Well, listen. This was the same development company that made Jak and Daxter that had really fluid combat. So like, switch it because it feels like they imported a lot of the gun controls.
It's also the same company that made Last of Us.
Well, I didn't play that either, so. I'm not big into first-person shooters.
That's a third-person shooter, both of them.
Well, I didn't play The Last of Us.
Devin's like, I play first-person shooters every day.
Well, yeah, you're on that Overwatch grind.
Look at this baby.
One of these days, you're going to accidentally discharge that thing, and somebody's going to be going to the hospital.
It's on safe. It's okay. Not anymore.
Let me reiterate. Somebody's going to end up getting injured. Probably me, because I always tend to be in the line of fire for this thing.
So it's actually pointed at Jaren the whole time.
Yep.
It's right here.
Yep. If it hits me in the thigh, I get a day off of work. I like it.
I was gonna say, could you just shoot me in the arm a couple of times so I can get disability?
These are hollow points.
Ooh. Ooh. So.
Goodbye to your arm.
Yeah, goodbye to your arm. Goodbye to anything else that it hits.
Well, that's the point. Like,
yeah.
Like, blow your arm off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
get a hook. I'll get a
off.
Well,
Get a
here.
hook.
Shoot me at the wrist so that way I can get a pirate hook.
No.
We'll be hook buddies!
We'll be hookers.
Huzzah!
So, okay, so the Circle of Life thing, when I was there, your numbers that you had to hit was 20% in reserves, which is 1 in 5 transactions. But here's the thing. If you got...
Did you put the safety back on before you tried to stick
Yeah,
that
it's
in
on.
your okay.
It's on. But anyway, if you got multiple reservations in one transaction, it actually counts.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you had somebody come in, if you had, like, let's say 5 transactions, and your 5th transaction somebody pre-ordered 5 games, you would have 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were days where I'd end up having like a 300-400% just because I only did like 2 transactions and somebody pre-ordered like 8 games.
Woo!
Yeah, cool, right? So your power-up percentage, which is your pro cards, they only wanted a 15%.
Well, I feel like okay, is that the premium or the regular?
That's the premium.
Okay. Well, I feel like the reason they have the lower on the cards is because these days loyalty cards have to be really good
obviously
to sell. So like, and I mean, GameStop's is fine if you're there often enough, but like a lot of people just aren't interested in that crap.
Well, here's what you're looking at with my store when I was there. Do you know what percentage we carried just because we were cool dudes?
No.
We carried almost a 30 every day.
Damn.
Yeah. And that was because we actually took care of people and we knew the ins and outs on how to get them the most out of using that card. So if somebody came up with, like, let's say, I don't know, 3 $55 games because they're new releases and they just wanted to get the pre-owns.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the one thing that you're probably going to do, probably have if you're doing this? You're going to have a pro card.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to save $16.50 off of that transaction using just that card.
Okay.
But if you don't have that card, you better get that card on the transaction because you still save $1.50. And then you get a buy 2 get 1 free coupon for buying the card. So one of the things you could do, and this is really sketchy, is if you don't tell them to do this, they can bring those games back in with their receipts after they get their buy 2 get 1 free coupon. They can return those games, use that coupon, and purchase those games back on that transaction and get a refund of $49.49.
Wow. corporate inside.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that happened was their pre-owned is actually not a terrible option because if the store is good and they treat everything right, you can actually go in and buy a pre-owned game off of them and then return it within 7 days and get your money back if you have the receipt.
Okay.
So that's where I sold 6 copies of Operation Raccoon City because they bought them pre-owned since I got them earlier that day, traded in already, and then they brought them back later that day after they beat the game too. So
yeah.
Now the only reason I'm mentioning this, the whole GameStop thing, is because I've had a lot of people message me on Facebook asking me, what the hell, Jared? Why is this going on? Why is GameStop doing this? I know you were with them. I knew you would shoot straight. And truth be told, this is what's going on. And I felt that this was the best platform to do it.
And I mean, that's fair because the thing with it is, like, because obviously I don't think Kotaku is the most honest news source. Like,
I mean, hell,
like,
their parent company.
Do we even need to talk about Gamergate?
No, I'm going to talk about Hulk Hogan real quick.
We're not going to talk about Hulk Hogan and his, like, sweaty walrus ass. I guess I'm censoring that.
Hulk Hogan is currently the only man to win a court case wearing a do-rag. Okay?
Okay.
So we can talk about Hulk Hogan and his walrus ass.
Well, you know what? He's not undefeated at WrestleMania, but you know who is? Donald Trump.
Yep. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
God bless America.
But, yeah, I mean, Gawker and the rest of its affiliates and
Yeah.
websites, they're definitely not the best things to listen to. But when Yahoo is reporting on this article, somebody probably should say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and GameStop isn't really helping their PR too much because they're like, we are not going to comment on this.
Well, I
this
mean,
piece of information.
that's what happened to that's what happened when Taco Bell was accused of using horse meat or whatever, and then like they're like, oh crap, we screwed up. Everybody gets a taco.
Yeah.
You get a taco.
And I
You
forgave
get
them
a
immediately
taco.
because horse meat is delicious.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is the best seasoned horse meat I ever immediately crapped out an hour later.
Yeah. But like, I mean, leaving GameStop, I was definitely kind of irritated when I left, but I also wasn't at the same time. I was kind of relieved when I left.
That's how I feel like leaving most jobs.
Yeah.
Like you're sad because like you lose the benefits you had and like the friends you made if you had friends. That's how I felt like.
I still have my friends. It's okay.
But,
I still have managers' numbers.
But like you think about like all the bull crap you leave behind, because that's how I felt leaving Walmart. Like I was like, man, it sucks I'm not gonna be able to get my bonus and like this other stuff, but I'm like, you know what? After that cell phone and that ham incident.
The ham incident.
So I don't know if I've ever told this story on podcast, but I might as well go ahead and tell it because I think the cell phone story's funnier, but that's because of the little moment of realization. But the ham story's just more like slapstick funny.
All right, let's do the ham story first, and then we'll talk about the cell phone. All right, let's do this.
So, young Dakota in college, needed money. So he
stood on a street corner.
No. Shut up, you bald
$2
fuck.
an hour.
$2 an hour, and he said you can do whatever you want. So
To be fair,
they tied him up and stole a stereo.
That was my favorite stereo too. I called him Jerry. Anyway, young Dakota's in college and he needs money. So he decided that he was going to work at Walmart because they would hire anybody, and apparently Sears wouldn't hire me.
Yeah.
Which is fine because now they're going out of business. Haha.
So is Kmart. Haha.
Anyway,
Well, Kmart already went out of business, but they're closing.
I worked at Walmart in the electronics department.
Because you're that guy.
Woo woo.
I don't know. I thought maybe I could leverage it into computer stuff.
That's fine.
And one of the things that I had to do as an electronics associate was something called zoning. Now, if you're not familiar with zoning, a lot of retail stores have it, where basically they have the associates walk the floor up and down and look for items that are either like knocked off the shelves or items from other departments.
Yeah, just upkeep.
And like it's upkeep basically, like keep the floor free of debris, like report any spills, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So one day I was walking up and down electronics because I was bored and I was zoning. And I see, like, I walked by the used games section and I'm tidying up a few games, and I see down below that somebody put a ham on the bottom rack. So, me thinking, okay, this is obviously not where this goes, I go to pick up the ham, and I did not think about the fact that hams, when they're in the frozen section, well, not the frozen section, but like the refrigerated section, they're firm. So, like, when you grab them, they're just kind of like, whatever. But I did not realize until I grabbed it that this ham had been sitting here for several hours. So it had thoroughly and completely thawed. So when I grabbed it, it like juiced. I can't even say it any other way. It juiced me. Like both of my hands and part of my arms just covered in like 3-hour-old ham juice. And so, after saying several things that would get me
reprimanded. There you go.
I solemnly and quietly walked back to the meat claims on the other side of the store with a sweaty ham. And then proceeded to, as soon as I dropped the ham off in the claims bin, I walked back to the other side of the store, went to the bathroom, and like beat the crap out of the hand soap dispenser to wash off my arms from sweaty ham juice.
That's fine, yeah.
And I still smelled like bacon the rest of the day.
That had to be glorious, though.
And well, it wasn't like
Get all the
bacon that's
babes.
like, It wasn't like fresh bacon with like the applewood smoke.
Yeah.
It was like bacon that's been left out in the rain for a week.
Oh, that's not good then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a good bacon smell.
Okay.
It was like an old bacon smell. But anyway, so yeah, lesson learned: don't grab random meat.
Yeah.
Shut up.
This goes back to the street corner thing. No, I'm gonna go ahead and
Extra shut up.
I'm gonna do my own funny retail thing. This goes to another one of my GameStop moments. Scott and I, Scott from podcast, we both worked together at GameStop, and we were both game advisors when we first started, seasonal game advisors, and we just had jabberjaw back and forth most of the time. And I was getting ready to leave for the day, and we were talking about the NFL teams, just talking sports, because at a GameStop, you would think that you just sit there and talk about video games all day. No. A lot of your employees do a lot of other things, including sports.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you would
Yeah.
expect a lot of people who work at a place to talk about what that place does.
Yeah.
But actually, in truth, you pretty much spend all your time talking about anything but.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're trying to do the work-life separation thing. But
Yeah.
go on.
So we're talking about football, and he said something about the Browns, and I said, I got a soft spot for the Browns. He says, yeah, me too, in my colon. And our manager gets really red, and he starts like, you can't say that on the floor. And then we have like 6 customers in the store, and they all heard that transpire. And since we're in Steeler country, they were like, ha ha ha.
Well, let me ask you. Was this manager a Browns fan?
No, he was a Raiders fan.
That's
Even
even worse.
Raiders.
That's like the goth kid that walked into a Tupac concert.
When I started being goth, I was a white kid. That's how dark my world is.
Listen, I'm about to start crapping Ovaltine in about 5 seconds.
That was the Taco Bell talking right there. All right, so now your cell phone story.
All right, so the horror from retail number 2.
Tales from the horror of the retail.
To be fair, when I got out of there, I looked like the Crypt Keeper, except if the Crypt Keeper had eaten Sally Struthers. Anyway, so
Okay.
obviously, at Walmart, like, if an item's expensive, usually it's locked behind a glass case, in a cage, or usually on a peg.
Yeah.
And this is a story about a prepaid cell phone. I had a guy come in. This was like a Saturday night. Like, I was working 2 to 11, which was a usual shift for me. Like, this was about 9 o'clock. I was pretty tired, but the thing is, by that point, most of your late night customers have gone home, so the floor is usually pretty quiet.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like, I let my guard down. I'm just kind of like chillaxing behind the counter, waiting for my shift to end. Not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And I have a guy come up to me, and he's like, hey, I need help finding a cell phone charger. And I'm like, okay.
I have a burner phone.
Well, don't spoil it. Hold on.
Oh, sorry. I hadn't
And
heard
I'm like,
the story.
okay. I'm like, okay, what kind of phone do you have, bud? And he's like, I have a Nokia something. Red flag number 1.
Yeah.
I'm
Although
like,
that's a horrible burner phone, because those things don't break.
well, this wasn't like an indestructible Nokia phone. This is
Oh.
one of their failed smartphones with Windows on it.
Oh, one of their smart dumb phones. Okay, well, dumb smartphones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess.
So, and I'm like, because obviously, I was hoping he was going to say some kind of Samsung or something. And I'm like, do you have the phone with you? Because the thing is, at Walmart, I don't know if you knew this, but just for future reference, if you're looking for a cell phone charger at Walmart, bring your phone with you.
Yeah.
Because most of their chargers have it, like, the box is designed that the end sticks out of the box. So all you have to do is bring your phone, even if it's dead, and find the one that plugs into it.
Yep.
Not a difficult procedure if you've
Nope.
used a phone. And I asked him if he had the phone, because I would just lead him over and we would just plug and play until we found what we were looking for. And he's like, I don't have the phone. And I was like, well, okay, do we have the phone as a floor model? And he's like, it's a prepaid phone. Red flag number 2. Because we don't have floor models of the prepaid phones.
Right.
And what's unique with the prepaid phone specifically is that because they're not behind a glass case, they are locked to a peg. Instead of having instead of the boxes being pretty easy to open, they have a security sticker. And what the security sticker is, like, it doesn't really protect it, but what it's basically a factory seal.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if we break the factory, this isn't GameStop. If we break the factory seal, we can't sell the phone anymore. It goes to claims.
Right.
And while I'm more than happy to do customer service, I'm also not going to let people get away with, like, petty BS.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's like, you have it as a prepaid phone. So I asked him to show me. And we walked over, and he, like, lifted up the box. And he's like, well, if we crack this open, I bet we could find out what charge it is. And I told him, sir,
we
can't.
could.
I told him, I'm like, we can't open it because it's got the factory seal. I even showed him. And I'm like, if we open this, we can't sell it anymore. It's damaged product. And he's like, well, why don't you know what charger it is? And, it's 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm tired. And, maybe this was a lapse in my customer service skills. Or maybe it was just me trying to get him to leave me alone. But in my haste, I said a phrase that would go on to wreck worlds. You ready for this? Well, I'm quite sorry, sir. There are like 10,000 different phone chargers, so it's kind of tough to figure out each one, especially for some of these off-brands. And you thought I'd have told him that I shot his mother.
I don't really see that as an issue.
Because he looked at me and he said, oh, really? Are there 10,000 different phone chargers? And I had to stop.
Yeah.
Like, my whole world, everything that my life was at that moment came into focus all at once. Have you ever heard something that's just so awe-inspiringly stupid that the whole world around you just stops and you feel like you're locked in time for a moment?
Yes.
As you, truly attempt to process what you have just heard. Like, they've said something so earth-shatteringly crazy that you think you're crazy for having heard it. So I have my little moment. I'm like, is he really questioning me on my phrasing? And this was before I watched Archer, so I couldn't even be funny about it. But I was like, I snapped back to reality, mom spaghetti. And I was like, I knew that he was going to start getting mad. So I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to say it. It was a throwaway number. And he's like, shouldn't use a throwaway number. Treat your customers with some more intelligence. And then I'm just like, you are fighting with an electronics associate at Walmart at 9 p.m. On a Saturday.
Yeah.
And you want to call me stupid.
You really want to talk about this now?
I'm like, please, God, get me through this without me getting fired. And I'm like, no, sir. Just, And, I just feed him some more, soliloquy type stuff. I was so tired and, in shock at that point. I don't even remember half of the conversation past that. But, eventually I was just hold on just a minute. And I got my buddy, who, by some insane stroke of luck, had the exact model of phone the guy had. And
Nailed it.
I just passed him off to him, and as I get ready, because I'm going to go on break now because I've been traumatized.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to tell your manager about this. And
That's fine.
As my last thought, I'm just like, that's great. That's 3 people who would think you're fucking stupid. And I didn't say that. I thought it really hard.
You also might have to censor that, too.
It's close enough.
Okay.
And I just walked to the break room, and I'm just like, yep, I think I've had it. I'm good.
I'm gonna go ahead and leave now, guys.
I put in my 2 weeks the day after. And I'm just like, yep. I don't care if I have to live in a box, because nothing will ever be as terrible as that argument. God save the Queen.
I had one. This was when I first became a senior game advisor. This lady during Christmas had bought an Xbox 360 that was refurbished. It was one of the only ones that we had left in the store. We didn't really like selling those ones.
Well, yeah, because wasn't that back during the?
She wanted a white model.
Ooh.
Yeah, she wanted the white model because it was cheap. We were like, well, we do suggest the Slims because they don't have the
R
30% fail rate.
Yeah.
And she says, I don't care. I want the cheapest one you have because it's a Christmas present. I'm like, that's not the good thing to do. Well, cool thing is that system survived. The 20 gig hard drive she bought with the system did not. And she came in. She's like, I need to return this. And I said, okay, well, what's wrong with it? And she says, I bought it during Christmas, and I don't have the receipt, and I want my money back. I said, well, I can't really do that for you because you don't have the receipt, but I can. I would like to replace everything for you. That way you can continue doing whatever you need to do. And she says, no, not good enough. I want my money back. And I'm like, I can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I know what the problem is. All you need is this 20 gig hard drive that I'll be happy to switch out for you. And she like started going ballistic, and I said, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I could do. And she just started going off on me, and I was like, she says, just pack it up and I'll take it with me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So I pack everything in all nice and neat, you know. I even rubber band the all the components together and everything like that. Make sure it's all clean and everything. And I'm like, I closed the box. I even like seal it up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she says, are you doing that right? And I was like, this is my moment of laughs. I said, well, I mean, I do this for a living.
I was gonna. Did she like when do you know when exactly she questioned you? Was it when you were taping up the box?
No, it was.
I hope it was. Well, I was just hoping it was.
No, it was whenever I was gum banding everything together.
Okay.
Like I was taking the cords and I was actually folding them up like I should, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was rubber banding the cord together, and she says, "Are you sure you're doing that right?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm sure I do this for a living." And like, I put it in the box, and she's like, I'm going to call corporate about that." And I was like, "Honestly, ma'am, that's
Go for
fine.
it.
At least they know I'm doing my job."
I'm like, go for it.
See, I couldn't get away with snarky stuff like that because, for some reason, the zone manager who like controls half the store like was just up my butt all the time. She used to yell at me because I would stand behind the counter.
Yeah, well, you are supposed to leave the counter.
Well, I did. Like, I would zone every like couple hours or so. Like,
Yeah.
But the thing is, too, think about like this because at GameStop I would get it because GameStops are small most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, you can see from one end of the store to the other.
Yeah.
But Walmart, there's lots of big, obnoxious crap in the way.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And let me ask you, if you walked into a random Walmart, like let's say it was one you weren't familiar with, and you needed an associate for something, whether it's like check and see if I need like there's a TV I want that's not out on front, because we have a lot of them in the back, obviously, or like I need a game out of the case or whatever.
Yeah.
Where do you go to find an associate?
Obviously, you go to the counter because that's smart.
See, that's what I thought. You know. Being a rational, reasonable adult at the time.
But this also requires you to have 2 people on staff in that section.
Well, for what?
So one of them goes to the counter. Well, one of them's at the counter, and then the other one zones, and then they take turns.
We were I mean, like we usually had 2 people, but like the issue was a lot of the time, like half. And I mean, like I feel like this is probably obvious, but most of the time, half of your team is incompetent and the other half does their job, so it's a crapshoot whether you're able to do your job effectively or whether you're just like flying by the seat of your pants. And a lot of time I was in Camp B.
I flew by the seat of my pants quite often, and because I did that, I found out that I was really good and I really liked doing one thing at GameStop, and that was doing inventory.
I was pretty much the same way.
I really like doing inventory, and it was really funny because I only managed to do... I wasn't allowed to actually do inventory as an assistant manager, but we had one person call off the day that Moundsville needed their inventory done. And in the district that we were in, you couldn't take anybody from St. Clairsville because they were in a completely different district at this point. So all of the people that were in the district were out of Pittsburgh and Washington.
Ugh.
Yeah. So you have people driving like an hour and a half to come to 7508 in Moundsville. That doesn't happen very often. So my manager at the time had 3 people from St. Clairsville, which he's not allowed to do. The district manager for our district and then the manager from Washington Crown, not Washington Crown Center, but Washington over by Trinity Point, which is where Walmart is.
Yeah.
He had those guys come down. He's like, I cannot find a fifth, and I was like, Jeff, I'll come and do it. Like, I know I'm not allowed, but I'll do it anyway. You know, because I'm going to be a manager someday, so I need to know how to do this stuff. He's like, well, let me ask Sandy to see if she'll let you do it. And he calls Sandy, and she goes, who's Jaren? She just did my interview for assistant manager like a month ago. He's like, he's one of your top performers in the entire district, if not the region. You should probably know who he is. And she's like, oh, okay, he can do the inventory. That's fine. So I come in and do the inventory. I'm like, guys, I'll do the DS case because I know that's the biggest pain in the ass in the entire store. And you're like, you do that. So I did the DS case. I did like all the goofy crap that was on the floor. I did all that stuff. And then the night before, I actually had to get everything ready. So I did all that. I made sure everything was where it needed to be. All of it was alphabetized. Blah, blah, blah. It was all ready to go. And then apparently I did such a good job, I got invited to help somebody else prepare their inventory for the next week.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I came up to the Highlands and helped them prepare their store.
And I mean, like, that's the thing too. If you prove that if you're an asset to people,
Yeah.
then it's gonna show. For example, like, I don't know if I told you guys about this, but mentioning the thing is, I work day shift. I'm a receptionist at H&R
You're a
Block.
day walker. I'm a vampire night walk.
You're a vampire. Night takes an Uber.
I have my own car.
Racist. Anyway.
Okay.
Well, you didn't hear about the thing that Uber did?
Yeah, I did.
What?
Yeah.
So, you know the whole immigration ban.
Okay.
Well, at JFK Airport, the cab workers of NYC staged a 1-hour strike in protest of the order.
Okay.
Uber turned off their surge pricing for that hour. Put the pieces together.
That's awesome.
So
No, that's called opportunity.
Well, I mean, I don't really care one way or the other. Ultimately, I feel like that was just kind of like a sunk cost for NYC.
Yeah.
And besides, the old outdated taxi system sucks anyway.
It does.
But anyway, so I'm working as a receptionist at H&R Block, and I work day shift.
I'm sorry.
And I'm working with one other person on day shift and 2 people on night shift who I switch off with. And right now, me and the other girl are even on day shift hours. Like, I'm not working the next 2 days because she's covering the weekend.
Right.
You know, and it's whatever. But, you know, I've never been late.
Yeah.
I do my job. Like, I've probably screwed up a maximum of 5 times. And, like, they weren't even, like, big screw-ups. It was like, hey, somebody is here with this client when they weren't.
Yeah.
Which, you know, today I had 7 people working in the office handling clients. Like, I lose track.
That's pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I screwed up once today. And I like, apologized to the client, and I apologized to the tax pro, and it was cool. It wasn't a big deal. Because at the end of the day, they knew they were going to be waiting anyway, because by law, everybody had their W-2s in the mail on Wednesday.
Yep.
So...
You know, I actually got my taxes back already.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess you wouldn't have any of the PATH Act credits, so...
Nope.
I don't either,
What
but...
credits?
What?
What credits?
The PATH Act credits, there are 3 credits. The PATH Act's a new thing this year because people have been cheating on their taxes.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
So the PATH Act withholds your taxes till February 15th if you have one of 3 different credits. Those being the earned income tax credit, which you only have if you have a dependent and are over 25. The child tax credit, which
What if you're 25?
Well, if you're over 25, I think you have to be 25 or over. It's 25 and a dependent and you have to do a couple other things to apply to qualify for the credit. I'm not exactly sure of all the conditions off the top of my head, but there's that credit. There's the child tax credit, the additional child tax credit, which obviously you have to have children to have.
Yeah.
and then the American Opportunity Credit, which is basically an education credit.
Right.
And if you get any of these 3 credits applied to your tax return, then your return is being held until the 15th by the IRS. And it doesn't matter who you file it through. It doesn't matter if you go through us or TurboTax or Jackson Hewitt or whoever. You're like, and the thing is, I say the 15th because that's the legal term for when they're allowed to start dispensing it.
Yeah.
But because they're going to be they're going to be more backed up at the IRS than a Taco Bell toilet.
Oh God.
So
Actually, wouldn't that just flow free?
no.
No, I mean because think of this. Think of it, and this is gonna get gross for those that are listening. Since Taco Bell just gives you the runs, it would just like free flow right out. It's basically liquidized anyway.
Well, it depends. It depends because I've heard of some people like. Listen, we're not getting into.
I mean, okay, I have a degree, in business administration, but it's specializing in accounting, and I'm pretty sure I have all 3 of those. I have a kid. Of course, a kid's dependent. I'm 25.
I don't
Didn't your wife not work this year either?
Paying on student loans.
Well, no, that's different. The opportunity credit is if you are currently attending education.
Okay, I think something else.
Because the thing is, I also have my 1099 from my school loans.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's different.
And the other thing is, did she work at all this year?
Yes.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Yeah, wasn't she like a Mary Kay salesman or something?
That's a whole completely different tax thing.
Yeah. Wasn't like.
Which I'm sure,
Is she gonna
like,
be a
almost
dependent
every
this year on
consultant.
taxes?
No.
No?
Maybe, I don't know how it works.
Well, I mean, Liliana is a dependent. So.
Yeah. I mean.
But I mean, the whole Mary Kay thing, I'm pretty sure, like, almost every consultant, kind of violates tax code, but,
Well, I mean, wouldn't that be like a 10? Well, let's see. I would assume that'd be like a 1099 or something.
Listen to us being a really
But
smart
anyway,
magic
like,
podcast.
because from me sitting through, other Mary Kay consultants talk about their taxes, they're under the assumption since they pay taxes on the stuff they buy, they don't pay taxes. I'm like, yeah, you still pay income taxes.
Still pay income tax, yeah, because you got to make that extra money, and then that's income.
So I told them all, I was like, you're not a business.
Yeah.
Therefore, you pay taxes on the stuff you buy because you're not a business.
Yeah.
So you're not paying your taxes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the good news is I found out through, like, my various tax pros that I work with that they're working really hard to, like, for example, one of the big things that the IRS had trouble with last year is people who are divorced and who gets to claim the kids on their taxes. Because only one parent gets to actually claim them as their dependents by federal law.
The difficult thing that would have to go with that is if it was, like, on a week-to-week basis.
Well, there's even a way to determine that because it's whoever has majority custody generally has.
Yeah.
And
well, it's supposed to be what the court says.
And then, exactly. Whoever the court says has majority custody has head of household rights in terms of filing taxes and claiming dependents.
Right.
Even if they live half and half.
Yeah.
But, so there's a new form. It's like the 8330 or something that one parent has to sign off on for the other one to claim. Because I know sometimes they'll, like, negotiate and be like, well, I'll claim the one kid and you claim the other kid. And that way it's even.
Yeah.
But they have to sign off this form. And I've had a lot of people walk out of the office with their returns on hold because they did not have that form.
Yeah.
Actually, like, you were talking about having those credits. I actually don't have any of those credits either, like Jared. Because I got all my last document came in yesterday. Which, ironically, was my 1099 for my unemployment.
Well, I mean, I know about the whole child tax credit. Well, last year it was, I think, like $3,000 per kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it went up this
now
year.
It's like on a scale where it's like you get slightly more each uptick for each child you have.
Yeah.
Like I don't have exact numbers.
And then there's like other stuff gets added to it. It's why a lot of people just screw the tax system that way. And like, see, I know what I'm going to get because business owner. I mean, last year I shouldn't owe anything this year. I mean, because I had a crappy job.
Yeah.
I make less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
But like when I start running the pipelines, which is hopefully in 2 weeks.
Yay!
because the company just got a job and whatnot. They're not starting to dig dirt until like 2 weeks. But anyways, we had, as of right now, a $14,000 loss last year, which got split between me and the other owner. But I have to amend our taxes from last year, which hopefully isn't a huge chunk difference. But when I hopefully start on pipelines, I'm making like, a few thousand a week. Like I'm gonna owe taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that loss is coming in. And cuts away from the taxes I owe.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. Just about everything you buy is a write-off.
Yeah.
Just about
Yeah,
everything.
Keep your receipts, folks, because there's a lot of stuff. Like, I found out that I could write off all those interviews I went to this year. I could have wrote those off. Could have wrote off my dry cleaning and my gas.
You write off all the food you buy, all the gas you use, all the gas you buy, haircuts.
That's actually part of the reason why I've been thinking about trying to get myself incorporated, because of all the money that I do spend doing Magic tournaments and stuff. Because those could be write-offs too.
Well, you don't have to be anything for it to be a write-off.
True.
Because you yourself have to be professional.
My favorite tax write-off story was have either of you ever read the works of one Mr. Tucker Max?
Nope.
Yes.
He made a living writing a new genre of book called Fratire, where basically he goes around acting like a total tool and just telling the stories of his life, and you would get an absolute blast out of them. I'll loan you the book sometime. But he literally wrote off abortions that he got for various girls that he slept with as research materials for his books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
if you're selling drugs, you need to report that income.
Yeah, there's an illegal income section on, what is it, a Schedule C?
It's called miscellaneous.
Yeah. Well, there's an illegal income, and there's also, a miscellaneous, and then you have to describe what it is. You can, but the thing is, the IRS, that's mine.
Okay.
The IRS has it in very broad terms, so, that's where a lot of, your,
gun smuggling.
Well, not gun smuggling. People who offer, adult services for a living, like professional dominatrices and stuff, that's where they get to write their stuff in.
In illegal?
No, not in illegal, in miscellaneous.
Oh, in miscellaneous. Okay.
And then they just write it off as, adult entertainment or whatever.
Okay, that's fine, yeah.
So that way, if you don't have, if you're self-employed doing that kind of stuff.
I couldn't do that. I'm too nice. I don't like to hurt feelings.
See, but if all your transactions are in cash.
That is a big fat lie.
Well, I did
I'm calling calling your bluff on that one.
I did hand Brandon an ass whooping tonight.
But yeah, if all your transactions are in cash, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many case studies and stuff that I've studied through college from all my accounting classes and business law and all that, of how many people would just you call it not really money laundering, but just a reason why a lot of places, if you see them say cash only, it's probably because they're relying on their numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying a lot. I'm not saying all of them do it, but there's a reason it's easier to finagle numbers and whatnot.
You know what's really crazy? Do you want to know the best place to launder money? The racetrack right across the road.
Yes.
Yeah, because what you do is you put your dirty money into the machine, and it spits you out the change for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just changes the money right there for you. So if somebody pays you, let's say they give you a wad of fives, and you throw those fives in the machine, it'll give you ones. Yeah.
Well, I've always heard that cash-based businesses are the best way to launder money.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of money laundering schemes are laundromats.
Yep. Yeah.
Because those are cash-based businesses that don't take you obviously you're not gonna have a credit card reader for a freaking washing machine.
Yeah. It's
it's the easiest way to clean money and your clothes.
Yeah.
It's there's this, not naming any businesses, a few businesses that I know of that does cash only sales. Or let's just say transactions, because it's not a sale, they're providing a service.
Yeah.
They do like your tattoos and stuff. So I'm pretty sure they're doing some under the table stuff, but it's none of my business. That's just to show how easy cash
Yeah.
is to just finagle and
Well, I
hide.
mean, because it
It
can't.
is.
Yeah, cash is a physical commodity that like you can't track.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have an RFID tag that the government can geolocate.
I actually just there's this YouTube channel called Extra Credits that I've been watching lately, and they started doing extra history. And I remember watching their, I think it was 11-minute long video on where paper money actually came from. And it was really interesting, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Well, I
Was
mean,
it from the Rothschilds?
No,
Well, I mean, that's
this was
okay.
way before the Rothschilds.
I used to get bored at work, like when I was working as an intern doing IT stuff. So I would just go on Wikipedia and hit random article till I found interesting things.
Yeah.
Like I still go back. Probably one of my favorite articles I ever read was like, I like reading stuff about stocks. Like
I do too.
like every now and again, I'll just go back to the. Although this isn't really stocks, this is more just like movies. I'll just go to the entry for Wall Street and just read about Gordon Gekko because Gordon Gekko is freaking awesome.
Yeah, Gordon Gekko was really cool. He was interesting.
I didn't know that there was a sequel to Wall Street, and I want to see it now.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's called. It came out in 2010. It's called Wall Street Money Never Sleeps.
Oh, that movie was a sequel?
Yeah, because it had both.
Wait, is that the Wolf of Wall Street you're talking about?
No, not the Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Wolf of Wall Street was like 2013.
Okay.
It was Wall Street with Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen, and then the sequel had Shia LaBeouf,
The Booth.
the Beef,
La Bouffe!
The Booth.
LaBeouf,
La Bière!
Le Nazi Punch. Yeah. So, but yeah, but now I want to see it because it's like it sounds pretty good, and like I mean Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen are both in it again. So.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool then.
I always thought about going into finance, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be cool to
I
be
always
like,
was interested in it.
like I think it would be cool to do. Like I just don't know enough about how to do it.
But
I think day trading sounds awesome, but how much stuff is like that goes into it?
oh man.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
You got to be smart to do it, but man,
You gotta be smart and
the thing is,
loaded.
like, well, you don't even have to be that loaded, depending on like, because if you have like, I've heard you can do like make it happen on less than $5,000.
Yeah. The biggest part of where people make their money day trading is like the first 10, 15, 20 minutes that
The market's open.
yeah,
Right.
every day. That's it.
Well, that's the thing too, because the thing is like the prices fluctuate so quickly. Like people make transactions.
Wouldn't it be better to do it like in the first 20 minutes and the last 20 minutes?
No, because
this case?
the thing is the last 20 minutes, like the prices don't tend to fluctuate beforehand.
Right.
The thing is at the beginning, there's like at the end of the market, between the end of the market and the beginning of the market, the markets are continuing to fluctuate.
Right.
But obviously you can't sell or trade on them while the market's closed.
Right.
So the thing is, what happened yesterday and what the state at the end of the day and then the state at the beginning of the day have undergone such a radical shift that's why like the turnover is so huge, like he's talking about.
That makes sense.
Because the status of where it was versus where it is now is so different.
Okay.
And likewise, the thing is, most day trades aren't made by people. Most day trades are done in literally fractions of a second by nanocomputers.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is too, day trading is the job. Day trading is the ultimate pinnacle of where the smartest man wins, and it's also the easiest physical job to do because you literally just sit at a computer and wait.
Yep.